In this problem, we're taking a look at two different options. It's a $200,000 home purchase, and this person can either make a required 5% down payment at 4.25% APR, or a 10% down payment for a reduced rate of 4.1% APR. And in either case, it's going to be financed with a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, so the rate will not change. We want to calculate the payment on each of the two options, so we'll begin with that. We'll say payment option 1, and we can do that with our Tvm Solver. So we'll come over to Tvm Solver and we'll enter in the specifics. So we have 360 months at a rate of 4.25%. Now this is with 5% down, so the person will have to finance $200,000 less 5% of $200,000. So it's just one way to do it. $200,000, and so we find out that the person has to finance $190,000. So future value is going to be 0, and our payment will be $934.69. So $934.69. Payment for option 2 will be the same thing, except we reduce the rate to 4.1%, and then at the same time we have to adjust the present value because this is assuming a 10% down payment. So I guess we can just write it in. It'll be $180,000. We'll take care of a 10% down payment. So we'll come back, calculate the payment again, and the payment is $869.76. $869.76. Okay. So next we want to create an amortization table for each of the two options by using Excel. So there's this video you can watch, and based off that video we generate a table like this. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy these cells, and you can just drag and copy and paste it nearby, and kind of the same rows, so that we can do loan 1 and loan 2. So here we're going to be doing $190,000. Here we are going to be doing a payment of $934.69. Okay, so the monthly rate, we want to get the monthly rate, which is going to be our equals 0.0425 divided by 12. So there's our monthly rate. So our beginning balance is going to be, of course, the $190,000. Our payment is going to be, I'm going to fix it on this cell here. So I'm going to equals C3, and then I'm going to lock it by hitting F4 so that the payment is always constant. Now the interest, remember that that's calculated by taking your monthly rate, and again I'm going to lock C4 because I always want it to reference the monthly rate there, times the payment, the balance, the beginning of the month. Now I want that to go down as I go down, so I'm not going to lock that cell. I will just hit enter. So there's my interest. Now my principal will be my payment minus my interest, so I'll just hit equals payment minus interest. So $262.04 goes towards paying down the principal. So my ending balance will then be equals my beginning balance minus the dollar amount that went towards principal. We hit enter. So now we come to month 2. And we have our beginning balance that's actually equal to the ending balance of the last month. And so now we'll do our payment, which is the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, Control-C, come down one cell, Control-V, and I can paste it. So see how that's fixed, it's referencing the same cell. Well, I can also copy this formula down, because what that's going to do is it's going to take the beginning balance, multiply it by the monthly rate for whichever row I'm in. So if I Control-C, Control-V, you'll notice that now it's actually taking the same locked C4 cell, multiplying it by the D8 cell. And I can do the same thing with these two formulas because they're referencing payment minus interest and beginning balance minus principal. So I'll copy those two cells, and I'll come down one level. I will Control-V, paste those, and you can see that things are starting to update. Now also what I'll do is I'll make sure my months advance automatically, so I don't have to type 1, 2, 3, because I want to make this as automated as possible. So let's check a couple quick things here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit equals the month prior plus 1, and that will make sure that every time I copy this row down. So I'm going to copy this down for 360 months. So you can do it a couple of different ways. You can hit copy, and now, whoops, try that again. Copy, and now paste to about row 370 should do it. We just want to basically get down to 360 rows. So I'm just holding the left mouse button and I'm dragging down. You can see we're going pretty fast. And now I'll try to do it around 370 and see if that gives it to us. Okay, so now I hit Control V, and that should paste the formula all the way down. So if I go all the way down, I'm just hitting page down now. Oh, see, I've got a few extra rows. I don't need this, so I'm going to delete those last 4 rows. Okay, so after 360 months, we notice that in actuality, we've overpaid. We paid a little too much. So sometimes it does happen that based on the rounding of the payment, once you round the payment, you could have an overpayment. So in this case, we've overpaid. The bank now owes us $199.03. Okay, so that's the same. That's this one. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy these guys. I'm going to copy these 2 rows. I'm going to Control C, and I'm going to paste them over here. Okay, now you notice a bunch of stuff kind of got funky. Like the loan amount is still referencing, well, right now it's referencing L2, but I don't have an amount in L2. So first thing I'll do is I'll enter my 180,000. Okay, my payment for this guy is $869.76. So what I'm doing by copying this over is I don't have to go back and enter it by hand. I can just, or enter it by hand again. I can just copy formulas from the past. So there's my rate, 4.1% compounded monthly. That's my monthly rate. Now my payment I need to adjust because see, my payment is still referencing cell C3 over here. I can actually do one of 2 things. I can just say equals cell L3, lock it, enter. My interest should be the same. Oh, no, excuse me, it's not, because see here it's referencing cell C4. I want it to reference cell L4, so I'll just change that to L4 times M7, and that gives me the interest on the beginning balance. My principal is still my payment minus my interest, and my ending balance is still my beginning balance minus my principal amount. So now I just need to copy this payment formula down, and I need to copy this interest formula down, so that now we're referencing the right monthly rate. And now everything looks to be in order, so I can just highlight this row, copy it, and again I'm just going to paste it down. I'm just dragging and copying, and I want to go down to the 360th row. So now I can see where it ends. So I'll stop there, I'll hit Control V, and I'm done. So that gives me my amortization. Here I'm only off by a couple dollars for whatever reason. Our rounding must not have been that bad. So we overpaid just a little bit. The next question asks, determine the amount of time it will take you to see the extra 5% down payment returned to you. This can be thought of as the point at which you have seen a savings of interest dollars equivalent to this amount. Now there are a couple of different ways to think about this, but for us we're just saying, okay, compared to the 5% versus the 10% down, when is the difference in interest payments, when does that difference become close to 5% of our original balance? Well, 5% of our original balance is $5,000. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a new column over here, and I'm going to say equals, and what I'm going to do is find the difference in the interest. So this interest minus this interest over here. So this interest to the left is a little bit higher because it has a higher rate, and now you can see that the difference in the interests, F7 minus O7, is $57.92. Now if I copy this guy down and I continue to paste him for at least a few months, I can see that, you know, every month there's a difference of around $57, 58, 56, kind of going back down. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to use what, if you can see down here, as I start to highlight cells, you can see certain things popping up here. For example, it tells me sum, and that means it's finding the sum of the current cells I have highlighted. So $231.32 is the total difference in interest across these 4 cells between the two different mortgages. So I'm going to keep scrolling down until I see that that savings, that sum is approximately around $5,000. So there we are. You can see that between months 91 and 92, the interest savings finally we see the down payment returned to us in interest savings. So you can see, like down here at month 92, we've already saved more than $5,000. Right before that, 400 at 91 months, we haven't quite seen the $5,000 down payment back. So we would say that it takes 92 months. 92 months to see the savings. And this is kind of a trickier thing to know. You know, Excel is really handy for this because it allows you to find it fairly efficiently just using some formulas. Now we want to calculate the total interest paid for each option in two ways, using Tvm Solver and then using the amortization table and the sum function in Excel. Okay, so using Tvm Solver, we can calculate the total interest in a couple of different ways. Mainly, we can say, all right, well, on this option, we'll do the second option first, the 10% down payment, since we've already got that entered in our calculator. So I'll go back to my home screen, and I'm going to basically access my sum interest function. So I'll go to Apps, Finance, not Tvm Solver, but I'll want to find SumInt. So I'll use SumInt, and I basically want to see my total interest over months 1, 2, 3, 60. And I can see that the interest paid on the $200,000 house for the second option, option 2, is a total of $133,112.54. This is an interest. Option 1, I do the same thing, except I need to make sure to modify my screen in Tvm Solver to reflect the initial 5% down payment plan. So that was 4.2 for 5%, $190,000 after down payment. I'm going to calculate my payment again. So there's my $934.69 that we see. I'm going to come back to my home screen, Apps, Finance, go back to the SumInt function, go months 1 to 360, and I should get a different answer. If I don't, something's messed up. So total interest paid on this option is $146,486.89. Okay, now in our amortization table we can use the sum function, so you can watch this video to see how to do it if you haven't already. And the sum function basically says, okay, well, let's sum up all of our interest. So we can do this one of two ways. Just like you saw here, we can actually highlight all the cells and see the total sum appear at the bottom of our screen, right down here, or we can actually go down to the very bottom and say equals sum parenthesis and then go highlight all these numbers. So I'll just basically click and drag. I'll drag this all the way up to the top. I'll do this a little bit faster. I've got a faster method of doing this. So there it is. I'll close my parenthesis, hit enter. So there it is, $133,111.50. Now ours has a little bit of rounding because we rounded the payment. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it over in the corresponding column of the first investment. So all I've done is basically it's still adding up the same values, but it's in a different column now, and I didn't have to go through the headache of having to highlight all those cells again. So there's my interest for that option. Here's my interest for the second option, and I can see that with the Tvm Solver I get roughly the same thing with just a slight bit of rounding error.